Good morning, everyone. I'm Connie Myers. It's Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, so this must be to 70 and beyond. I hope that your week was a fabulous week this week. It was a very, sometimes challenging week for me, and other times it was a very gratifying week. And today I came across a file when I was looking for something else. I came across this file of my friend Deborah Trapin had asked me to write a love letter to myself. Here, this has probably been about a year ago or so. And I happened to come across the file and I printed it out and read it. And it's interesting when you look at something that is from the past. I always say you have to come from your vision, you can't go to it. It's always interesting to me how things unfold and how that vision comes into play. And I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but I wanted to emphasize, I talk all the time about how you have to think about the things you're grateful for every day and write them down. And you have to write down 3 successes you had from the day before and what that does chemically to your brain and how that affects your life and how it moves you forward through the day. And as I was reading this, I've now decided that at least one paragraph every day is going to be a part of my morning ritual because it reminds me of the journey that I've taken. So I want you to think about this week, think about a love letter to yourself. So this is part of what I wrote. This was after my husband passed away. And it says, over the next few weeks and months, you had major decisions to make. When you're going to live in your dream home in Portland, or were you going to live in Las Vegas? You had always told him, don't ask me to move to Vegas. You had always told him you hated heat, didn't like brown, was a gardener, and gardening in Vegas was like an infomercial. Set it and forget it. You loved Portland green and rain, but his spirit was in this house, the house you had spent the last 6 months of his life. How could you leave this house? His spirit was everywhere. What you did next is why I love you most. You tried to go back to your old life, the life that had been led by ego, but his spirit wouldn't let you. When you tried to go back to being a workaholic and driven, you weren't able to. His spirit was telling you that you had not been living the life that you were put on this earth to live, and people were waiting for you to help them. Now is the time. You allowed your heart to be open and started by asking the important questions, such as, why were you put on this earth? You started listening to your heart, and the opportunities started to show up to guide you into the life of service of others, helping them discover their crystalline moments. You learned that even in death, a very difficult crystalline moment, there is always a gift or opportunity. And I signed it, your inner voice and loving self. And when I was reading, I've read it several times now because every time I read it, I get something more out of it. So I want you to take just a minute, close your eyes, think of a major event in your life that's happened, and then write a love letter to yourself from that event. So maybe it was a marriage, maybe it was a birth, maybe it was a death, maybe it was your house burning down, whatever that major event is. And then write a love letter to yourself about how you've come through that. Because if you're still struggling, let's say that you've lost a loved one. If you're still struggling with how to get beyond it, it all starts with ourselves. It all starts with who we are internally and who we are and how we move forward. And it starts with our mindset. It starts with opening up our heart and not listening with our brain. That's our ego talking, but listening with our heart. And my heart, as I'm reading this, has really unfolded and opened up more and more and more. Like I said, this was about a year ago. And I've decided what I'm going to do is, instead of writing things I want to have happen in 2021, I'm going to reflect and write a love letter for 2020 for how I made it through the pandemic, how I created this brand new certification that's off and running, how I did all those things. So I want you to take some time and do this, because if you're struggling with anything at all, if you sit down and you write a love letter to yourself, you're going to find out that there's lots to love about yourself. We always can find things to find faults in ourselves, but let's concentrate on what's beautiful about ourselves and how we can live our life better. And if you don't know how to start, because I have to say, it was very difficult for me to sit down and start writing this letter. I didn't really know where to start. But Tom's passing was definitely a good starting point for me. And so whatever that starting point is for you, figure out. And if you really don't know something to write down, ask the people that love you. What are the things that they love about you? And start with that. Start that so-and-so says that they love this about me. And start there so that your heart opens up and you start feeling and seeing who you really are. I can tell you that since Tom's passed, it's almost 10 years. I can't believe it's almost 10 years, but it is. It's almost 10 years. And my life has unfolded in ways that I could have never imagined. There was no way that I knew that morning when he passed away that my old life was over and that I was going to have this brand new life, a life of purpose, and figuring out what vision is and figuring out what my crystalline moments were and what the opportunities were in those, how I was going to change from looking at things that didn't go right as failures, and now they're just course corrections. How I walk through fear now is knowing that there's always a gift or an opportunity in every crystalline moment. So take the time. I mean, I'm so grateful I found this. And I'm so grateful that Deborah asked me to write it, because what a truly wonderful gift it really is, not just for me, but for how I'm serving others. And it reminds me of why I was put on this earth and why I do what I do, and helps me to move forward. Like, I found this letter on Monday, and I've read a paragraph from it every day. I've sent it out. I've posted it on. If you want to read the whole thing, you can go on my Facebook page and read it. But I really feel like it is a way of keeping us on track. So my wish for you this week is, number one, stay cool if you're in a hot spot like us. I mean, we're hopefully going to get down under 110 here like tomorrow. And if you're in some place where there's storms, I'm sorry. And you poor people in California, my prayers and love go out to you. Every day this week, I've posted in my group about a new disaster for the day. I mean, it's crazy that we're not just having a disaster once in a while anymore, but we're having them every single day. So I've been writing about that. So take some time. I'll come back to my letter when I'm feeling a little blue, because that's going to perk me back up again. Anyway, I hope you have a fabulous week. And that brings you lots of joy and laughter. Oh, one of the things that I figured out, and I wrote in this, is that I figured out that you can't have success unless you come from happiness. And so writing a love letter to yourself will help you to go back to being happy and finding something to laugh about every day. So, all right. I love you all. I will see you next week on To 70 and Beyond. Love you all.